Oh, Mom! Say, is anybody home?
Well, I'm here, young man. Well, I do.
Well, Uncle Henry, of all people, where did you come from?
Oh, just dropped by for a little visit.
Just dropped by, huh? Say, did Mother know you were coming?
Well, she didn't, but she does now.
Gosh, I bet it was a great surprise.
It certainly was.
Say, where is Mother?
Oh, she and Jeannie just went downtown for a few minutes.
Well, let's sit down.
Good idea. Say, Tom, that kid's sister of yours sure has grown.
Oh, that's for sure. Say, Uncle Henry, I can't remember that you've ever been here before. Always see you in New York. How long has it been since you were here last?
Well, let's see now. Say, Tom, you know, it's been over 20 years.
Gosh, you must like New York.
Well, I guess I do. But then I just thought this would be a good time to visit with some old friends and... But say, fella, what are you doing home in the middle of the week?
Oh, we're having a bit of a vacation down at Southern.
Southern? That's right. You're at Southern. Say, I want to get down there before I go back.
Sure, why don't you drive down? It's only 50 miles.
Hey, yes, I know, Tom. You know, I've been over that road hundreds of times.
Oh, I almost forgot. You're a graduate of Southern, aren't you?
You bet I am. And say, you're going to have to tell me all about it. You know, I've heard there's been some really big changes down there.
Well, I'll say one thing. It's pretty rough.
Rough? What do you mean, rough?
Well, the studies. You know, I've got advanced accounting this term.
Say, fella, you're having the best time of your life. And you just don't know it.
Well, I guess so. I believe I'll miss it when I get out.
You certainly will. I did. Why, even now, I can remember the good times we used to have. There was Mr. Muckleroy's ag classes.
Mr. Muckleroy? I don't know him.
Oh, he's retired now. Those classes were down on the school farm.
We have an ag department now.
Yes, I've heard. But they can't do any better than some of the teachers we had. Really knew what they were talking about. For instance, take Emma Booyer.
Oh, I've heard of her. In freshman English, wasn't she?
It was rhetoric then, Tom. And boy, could she pound home sentence construction.
Really put a student in his place, huh?
She sure could, Tom. Then there was Mr. Sisney. Raked me over the coals once for letting my practice teaching class get out of hand.
Well, there's been a lot of changes since you were there, Uncle Henry.
Yes, I know. But I still remember good old Dean Lentz.
Oh, I've met him.
Taught me the history of England. Almost like we were actually there. Golly, the hours I spent in Wheeler Library.
Well, we still spend a lot of time in Wheeler, Uncle Henry.
But it wasn't all work in Wheeler, Tom. You know, library dates were quite the thing in my day. By the way, Tom, is the chemistry department still in Old Science?
Old Science? Oh, you mean Altgeld Hall. They changed the name just a short time ago. But anyway, chemistry is in Parkinson Lab.
Say, Tom, I'll bet you don't have the basketball teams that we used to have.
Well, I don't know about that, Uncle Henry. We've had some pretty good ones. Fact is, our gym right now won't hold the crowds most of the time.
Well, I'm certainly going down there. You know, Tom, you never realize it when you're in school, but every day I use some of the things that I learned at Southern. Take mechanical drawing in Parkinson 106, for instance. And by the way, Tom, do they still have chapel at Southern?
Chapel? No, Uncle Henry. Where do they hold chapel?
In Shryock Auditorium. The whole student body was required to attend.
Well, they couldn't do it that way now, for sure. You know, I'd say today's students would fill Shryock Auditorium 2 or 3 times.
Sounds like things really have changed.
Well, Uncle Henry, you'll find one building that hasn't changed, and that's Old Main.
Old Main used to be a good, solid building.
Well, they've had to make a lot of repairs, and it cost a lot of money, but it's still Old Main.
You know, Tom, there's one other thing that I know hasn't changed.
And what's that, Uncle Henry?
That's good-looking co-eds. You know, whenever spring comes round, I still remember those few minutes on Anthony Hall porch just before the girls had to go in.
Oh, I can guarantee that, Uncle Henry. The co-eds certainly haven't changed.
And there's one other thing that I hope hasn't changed, Tom, and that is the number of successful students Southern's always turned out.
I think you're safe there, Uncle Henry.
For instance, I can name dozens of executives and administrators who are graduates of Southern, people who've made good. Why, I'd say that hundreds of professional men and women got their pre-professional training at old Southern Illinois Normal University. And then, of course, there were lots of farmers, too, who graduated from Southern. There were teachers who taught for a spell to get money enough to go to engineering school or to some other professional school.
Didn't students at Southern have to sign a pledge that they would teach, Uncle Henry?
Well, either sign or pay a much higher tuition.
Well, what did you do?
Well, I signed the pledge to cut tuition, but I never intended to teach. Did my practice teaching at Allen.
You know, we have a new building for teacher training now, Uncle Henry.
Yes, I've heard about that.
One of the finest in the country, they say. Offers more than old Allen ever did, or could for that matter. For instance, it has a swimming pool with a special setup for crippled children. Then there's a new industrial wing.
That sounds like a wonderful building.
There's another new building on campus too, Uncle Henry, that's very important to the university.
What's that?
That's the new physical plant south of the main campus, where they have the power plant, the service shops, and all the garages. A lot of traffic down there about 4 o'clock. That's when the professors leave for extension courses, and the area service workers leave for conferences.
Sounds like the university is really helping Southern Illinois.
And when you come down, I want to show you the new life science building.
Let's see now, what goes in that building?
As I understand it, there'll be botany, zoology, physiology, and microbiology. And they'll have all the latest lab equipment.
Well, they certainly needed it for years.
That's right. And right beside the life science building, there's going to be another building they needed for a long time.
And what's that one, Tom?
That's the new library. It's going up right now.
But didn't you say they were still using Wheeler Library?
Yes, but they've had to take a lot of books out of Wheeler. The building just couldn't take the load. They're using Quonset huts for some of the books now.
Well, that sounds bad.
It is. This new building isn't a bit too soon. And you know, it's going to be air-conditioned.
Say, that should make studying a pleasure, especially in the summertime.
That's not all, Uncle Henry. They're going to have soft upholstered furniture in some of the reading areas. Can you imagine easy chairs in the library?
Well, I certainly can. Old Wheeler's chairs were made of the hardest wood I can think of.
You know, I only wish I were going to be in school when it's finished.
Say, Tom, what's this VTI I've been hearing about?
Oh, that's the Vocational Technical Institute, Uncle Henry.
And where is it on the campus?
It's out at Southern Acres, about 10 miles east of Carbondale. And out there, a fellow can get a 2-year course in such things as business, auto mechanics, machine shop, radio and television repair, retailing, and such courses as that.
Sounds like a very good idea.
It is. It's a good deal if you're interested in a special field.
Well, old SIU's certainly covering a lot of territory.
Yes, you won't know the place if you haven't seen it for 20 years. And you know, a lot of people can't understand why the university needs all the space for 3,500 students. But you see, there's more to the university than just the classes. There have to be places for a research project. For example, the cancer research.
Now, that's something that's certainly needed.
Yes, but that's not the only one. Forestry research, they say, is going to open new markets for wood products and help in harvesting the timber more wisely.
Well, Southern Illinois has always needed something like that. And say, didn't I read somewhere that Southern's doing experiments with game?
Oh, yes. They're collecting information on all types of wildlife. That'll make it possible to improve the game supply in Southern Illinois. They're going to fill up the streams and lakes with fish, too.
Well, that should make Southern Illinois a real hunting and fishing paradise.
That's right, Uncle Henry. But you know, in every corner of the campus almost, you can see some professor carrying on an experiment. Just the other day, I happened to see one of them working on plans for a new school building.
Well, what about equipment for these projects?
Well, you know, they tell me a lot of the profs have designed their own equipment. You should see the equipment they've set up for electroplating research in the chemistry department. Oh, it's a real Rube Goldberg, but it works.
By the way, Tom, what's this I've heard about an art department at Southern?
Say, that is something. We have a really outstanding art department. Some of the top men in the field. Painting and drawing, as well as pottery, and all that sort of thing.
Tom, to hear you talk, I think you'd never relax.
Oh, don't worry, Uncle Henry. I can forget the books as quick as the next fella. Why, last homecoming, I had Maryland dated up through the whole weekend.
Say, you said homecoming. Still have parades, do they?
Oh, I should say they do, Uncle Henry. And the one we had last year was one of the very best. It was over a mile long with more than 20 high school bands and floats representing practically every organization on campus. And the house decorations were really clever last year, too.
Well, now, tell me about the football game. Did Southern win it?
Oh, they sure did, Uncle Henry. They won 6-0 over Eastern Illinois. It was really a tough game, too. For a long time, it looked like neither team would win. But the Salukis finally came through in the third quarter with the touchdown and went on to win. It was really colorful, too, with all the bands and the cheerleaders and the stunts and everything. And old McAndrews Stadium was really packed that day, too. I guess there was between 7,000 and 8,000 people there. And you know, after the dance that night, I was really fagged. I was kind of glad homecoming was over.
Do they still have plays at Southern, Tom?
They sure do. But that's not the only time they have plays at homecoming. They have 4 or 5 during the year.
And still use Shryock Auditorium?
Oh, no. Now we have a new little theater. Now they're holding the shows for several nights, not just one.
Well, now that's fine. Gives the students more experience.
You bet. And the plays they tackle are really tough, too. But they turn out performances that are really big time.
Say, I'd certainly like to see one of them.
And say, you should see our student union, Uncle Henry. It's really a nice place to relax in, say, after a tough exam. They have television, and a snack bar, a nice big game room. And they've even got a small library.
Well, we didn't have a student union in my day. We had to go to the corner cafe or downtown for a time out.
You know, Uncle Henry, Army barracks have been a real lifesaver for Southern, too. They've even made a group of men's residence halls out of them.
Men's residence halls? Where are they?
They're east of the Illinois Central Railroad. You see, the housing accommodations for men are pretty tough at Southern. They've even moved the women out of Anthony Hall and put men in there. Seems a little bit strange, too.
Sure does. What have they done with the women, Tom? Are they living in converted barracks?
Oh, no, Uncle Henry. There's a brand new women's dormitory now. It's named Woody Hall, named after Miss Lucy Woody. You probably knew of her.
Oh, yes. She was Dean of Women at Southern for a long time.
That's right. But you should see Woody Hall. I mean, it's really lush, with a big patio for sunbathing and evening strolls.
How many rooms does it have, Tom?
Well, there are over 400 women living there, and you know, that's a lot to choose from when you're looking for a date.
Well, I think so.
And you should see the rooms. They're really wonderful. Nice big rooms with built-in furniture, lots of closet space. Everything to make the girls feel more at home. And the lounges, Uncle Henry. You know, when I'm waiting for a date in Woody, I just feel like curling up in one of those big, easy chairs and taking a nice, long nap. You know, there's something mighty relaxing about those lounges. I guess it's a color scheme. It's not the same old gray or buff.
Sure sounds great.
Yeah, and speaking of conveniences, there's a modern laundry in each wing of Woody Hall, with automatic washers and dryers.
You know, Tom, it sounds as if Woody Hall has all the conveniences of a small community in one building.
It sure is. You know, they even have hair dryers for the girls. And then there's the recreation rooms where the girls can entertain their dates. All the latest records, Coke machines, ping pong tables, and everything.
Say, does Woody Hall have a dining room?
They certainly do, with all the very latest equipment. Stainless steel. And their meals are planned by a dietitian. Just like Mother used to cook, so they say.
Let's see now. Where is Woody Hall located?
Woody is located just across the street from the main gate of the university. The gals can be out of the hall and into their classroom just a couple of minutes after they leave the hall.
Anything being planned like this for the men, Tom?
Oh, there sure is. There's a new dormitory for men in the plans, all right. And they say it should be completed about 1956.
And what's it going to be like?
Well, I don't know the details exactly, but it's going to be strictly the latest. You can bet on that.
Say, Tom, this must be pretty hard on Dad's pocketbook, isn't it? You're going to Southern?
Oh, not so bad. The tuition's low. Living expenses are no higher than they are here at home. And you know, with what I make for my student job at school, I don't have to ask Dad for very much.
What kind of a job do you have, Tom?
I work in the statistics office with the IBM machines. It's interesting work and good experience, too.
Almost as valuable as some classwork, I'd say.
You bet. And a lot of the other fellows are in the same boat so far as jobs are concerned. They just couldn't go to school if their folks had to foot the whole bill.
I expect, Tom, that's why a lot of students go to Southern.
You're right, Uncle Henry. A lot of students could go to college closer to home, but it would cost much more than it does at Southern.
How many of the Southern students work while they're going to school, do you know?
Well, there's a very large percentage of them have part-time jobs, and there are plenty of jobs available, too. Everything from work on the experimental farm to highly technical lab work. We have students working in radio and in photography, and of course there are all types of office work.
But some of those jobs require a lot of experience to qualify, don't they?
That's the best part of most of the jobs. Pay you while you're learning.
Say, that should draw a lot of students, that setup.
That's for sure, Uncle Henry. Word's getting around fast that Southern's a good place to go to. We even have students now from 25 foreign countries. And there's another thing I like at Southern, and so do a lot of other students. You're not just a little cog in a big machine. You can go in any time and talk with your instructors.
Well, that's a big point in any school. By the way, Tom, are you in the ROTC unit I've heard about at Southern?
Oh, sure. When I get out, I'll have 2 jobs that I can qualify for. One in the Air Force and the other in business.
Well, speaking of jobs, Tom, has it been pretty easy for Southern graduates to get jobs?
Well, I should say so. A lot of companies are coming to Southern to fill their positions. That's especially true in the spring. That placement office is just buzzing with interviews. Matter of fact, I guess it's just a matter of which job is best and not whether or not you'll get one.
Well, you can't beat that. But you know, Tom, I guess from what you said that I just wouldn't know the old school with all these new buildings.
Well, even with the new buildings, we're still using old houses and barracks. And that's down to the last foot of floor space.
Well, any other buildings coming up?
Oh, yes. We should have a new ag building within the next 2 or 3 years. Plans have already been drawn.
That should help some.
Well, it'll certainly give a lot more office space.
Well, Jeannie, how's my best girl?
Just fine, Uncle Henry.
Say, Tom, I wonder what Southern will be like when Jeannie gets there.
Well, I don't know exactly, but you can be certain it'll be changed for the better. You know, I heard President Morris give a talk just the other day on what Southern's going to need.
In 1944, our enrollment was 904. By 1954, it had grown to over 4,100 students. And by 1964, it will be between 10 and 12,000 students. Unless, that is, we are forced to limit enrollment because of limited facilities for classrooms and housing to take care of these students. These are resident students. Additional thousands are being served through extension and through our Division of Technical and Adult Education. Southern will have to expand its facilities rapidly in order to meet the continual increase in students who are of college age. We must be ready if we are to keep open the door for these young leaders of tomorrow. Some of you have seen our new buildings, the first since 1928. And you've seen the new buildings in process, which we hope to occupy soon. If we are to meet the demands of this area, we must continue our building program. Specifically, we must have the agricultural building at the earliest possible time. We must build additional dormitories rapidly in this area and in this area. We must improve and increase our classroom facilities. We must complete the life science building and the library building, and the site development around these buildings must be taken care of in order better to utilize the building, the land, and tie together the entire campus. And we must move into the old run-down buildings of the old campus, remodel, renovate, and redesign these buildings to meet the new needs which will need to be met as new buildings become available and these are put to new uses. And if we're to continue and extend our services to agriculture of the area, we must move into the land west and south of the university and complete the test farms which have been started in that area and which are so sorely needed in connection with this program. And at the Southern Acres campus, we must enlarge our facilities rapidly in order to take care of the heavily increasing demands upon the Vocational Technical Institute and the entire Division of Technical and Adult Education. Southern Illinois University is our university. We can all participate in its program as a student on the Carbondale campus, as a student in Extension or the Division of Technical and Adult Education, or you can be a booster for Southern. All of us working together can make a better university and a better Southern Illinois. Your cooperation and your support are urgently needed.
Well, that's a lot of the story, Uncle Henry. But you're going to have to come down to Southern to see the rest for yourself.
Well, I'm going to. And you know, Tom, I can see that there's still a lot to be done at Southern.
Yes, and it's going to take a lot of help from everyone.
Well, I'm going to do my part, and I know that all the alumni and friends of Southern will help too.